Dale McKinley is a political economist. He joins us to elaborate on the negative impact corruption has on a country which is being perceived and how the country is being perceived globally. Dr. McKinley, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has exposed deep governance failures. In your view, what do you imagine to be the short-term to medium-term impacts on South Africa's investment climate and economic outlook as we continue to listen to these startling revelations?
Yes, good evening, Paul, and to listeners and viewers. Listen, I think, as I was saying a little bit earlier in the week in some commentary, I think it's quite early days for us to make conclusions as to the full impact of what is going to be revealed in the Madlanga Commission. But what is clear is that there's cases to be answered. And I think that there is no surprise there would be no surprise amongst most investors or most people that pay attention to South Africa internationally that our criminal justice system has problems, that there has been corruption allegations for some time now. We can go all the way back to 15 years ago to the NPA and the Hawks debacle and the state capture years and other things. So my sense is that what will be happening is people will be watching quite closely, and if it comes up to a senior level, if there's evidence that then suggests that the minister and maybe even the president or other very, very senior leaders in government have a case to answer, then we could get into different territory, which could have a fairly negative impact, I think, in the more shorter to medium term. But right now, I don't think there's going to be much of an impact right now. I think it's too early. We haven't established the full facts, and only one side is yet to be heard.
Yeah, but as we try and get a deeper understanding on, what such revelations do to affect government credibility in terms of fiscal discipline, attracting both domestic and foreign capital, and also just getting a sense of South Africa's relationship with the US at the moment.
Yeah, listen, I mean, when it comes to the Trump administration, we always know that all bets are off. You can't predict anything in terms of what I think they're looking for causes. Let's put it that way. I think the Trump administration from the beginning has been looking for weak points and causes to act against South Africa. They don't like us. They don't like our government and our international positions on a range of things. And so they're going to take advantage and they're going to double down and say, you see, we told you so. This government is corrupt. They can't protect you. The police are, these kinds of stories. So I think when it comes to the Trump administration, we can pretty much expect where they're going to go with this. Yeah. As for others, as for business people in Europe and Asia and others, corporate capital, I think there's a much more sort of sophisticated understanding of South Africa. That our government is not going to rise and fall. Investments are not going to rise and fall on the basis of a few testimonies so far over about 8 or 9 days. But what I think it does is it doesn't help us. That's for sure. But in the case of the what is to come, as I said, in the context of whether or not this is going to go up the ladder, I think that will then determine the extent of which corporate capital and other investors will say, well, let's double think, some of the investments, or let's double think our relationship with South Africa, but not right now.
Yeah. South Africa was recently grey-listed for deficiencies in combating corruption and money laundering. What impact do you believe? I mean, it's 9 days in. It doesn't help us, but, what impact do these revelations have? Could they deepen the risks or create some kind of momentum for reforms to exit the grey list at all?
Well, I think, the government has done what it said it was going to do to plug the gaps for why we were grey listed. In other words, reforming some of the legislation, tightening up some of those aspects that were fairly weak. I don't think, again, that this is going to impact on that. But if this Madlanga Commission then, shows us that this is a fairly widespread, it's not just about Mkhotsi, it's not just about Matlala, but the tentacles of these criminal syndicates are moving through the police in very, very particular ways, and it shows that this is going to have a serious impact on our reputational, ability to stop drugs, to stop money laundering and everything else, then I think, yes, I think it could do quite a lot of damage in that context, and you could see some backtracking from the grey listing agencies and saying, look, you told us you were going to do these things, but now this information has come to light, and now we're going to question that. So it does have a lot of potential reputational damage at the moment. I think that's the main thing. Our reputation is getting a bit tarnished further, but it doesn't have yet the empirical evidence to back that reputational damage up. So I think people will hold off at the moment and wait to see what happens.
So beyond immediate reputational damage or the long term, what do you think are some of the deeper structural economic consequences if systemic corruption revealed by the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is not addressed? I mean, we've seen commissions like the Zondo Commission of Inquiry and what happened to those recommendations. What are your thoughts around this?
Yeah, well, it's a very, very important question that you ask, Paul. And I think we don't really want to contemplate what might happen. If it's shown that this goes really deep and the tentacles are like an octopus that goes into every facet of our state, then what's going to happen is a lot of our electorate, a lot of our citizens are going to lose even further trust in the state, and particularly in our police forces, to be able to not only protect them, but to be able to run the criminal justice system, because there are also allegations here that it's not just the police, it's people within the prosecutorial authorities as well as within the judicial system. And if those things are proven, if the empirical evidence shows, then we could have a lot of conflict. We could have people responding in fairly violent ways. What we saw in the past, taking advantage of the socioeconomic realities of a lot of people that are desperate in this country. We could have a lot of political parties also taking advantage to cause, should we say, ructions within the upcoming local government elections, which are scheduled for later next year. So there could be quite a number of things that could take place if this Madlanga Commission shows that the extent of this corruption and this malfeasance and mismanagement and, in fact, capturing, in some ways, again, of different components of the state is very deep. It really does then would bring into question the legitimacy and in some people of our democratic credentials and our system itself. And that poses a range of other structural questions that I don't think we really want to contemplate at the moment.
Could these revelations, trigger any meaningful policy reforms that could perhaps reshape the country's economic trajectory?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
And I think it should. I think that's exactly where the reason why, a commission should be established is it's clear that there are gaps. It's clear, for example, to many of us who pay attention to our legislative aspects that the executive has too much authority in our systems, that the parliament doesn't have enough oversight. It will be interesting to see how the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee and its hearings show up and what they find and how they act on those as well. But we need some legislative reform. We need to put, and this is nothing new, people have been saying it for a long time, when it comes to our security forces and our intelligence services, we need to put people there that can do the job, that are not political appointees, that are not beholden to political politicians. When we professionalize our service, when we close the legislative gaps, and then people can restore trust, and we see some action on the ground. Acting also to make sure that those that are responsible, and this is the biggest gap that we have, that those who are responsible are held accountable, that they are prosecuted, that they are put in jail, and that people see the back of them and don't see them again in the public realm in another form. And I think this is where most people are expecting. And it can happen. It's very possible. It's a question of political will to act.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. We're going to have to leave it there. Dr. Dale McKinley, a political economist, giving us some insight on some of the revelations coming out of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.